Let's talk to Ridhima Pandey, the 14-year-old climate change activist, the TEDx speaker. BBC has listed her as 100 most empowering and influencing women of 2020. She's a member of the Youth Advisory Council for COP26, and the list goes on and on. Hello, Ridhima. How are you?
Hi, I'm really good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for joining me. I am so excited to be talking to you.
Thanks for having me. It's really nice to talk to you.
I just want to take a minute to say how much I admire your ambition. What you have accomplished at such a young age, so many people don't even accomplish that in their entire lifetime. So I just wanted to say congratulations and thank you. Thank you for all the awareness you're creating.
Thank you so much.
So April 22nd was Earth Day, just on Friday. That day, we saw a lot of discussion. People were questioning things about climate change. They were becoming more aware. However, as we know, climate change is not a topic just for April 22nd. It is something we should be discussing every single day on a daily basis. So Ridhima, will you please share with all of our listeners, why is it necessary for us to take action now, as in today, and not tomorrow?
I feel like the very first thing is that why it's important for all of us to take action right now is because our life depends on our actions. I mean, what we're going to do, how we're going to reduce our carbon emissions, whether we're going to reduce it or not. Like all of these things are going to shape our future, and somewhat it is going to shape the future of younger generation. So for the kids, it's that their actions are going to determine their future, and for the parents, it's that their actions, like the way they're destroying it, if they don't stop today, then they're just going to make things work like much more worse for their kids. And I mean, it's been always said that parents always try to do the best for their kids, but right now, as of how the things have been working with the older generation, I just feel like they're just concerned about like kind of like luxury, or their profit and gaining more and more, and in this process they're so blinded that they don't even understand that the money or the luxury that they're trying to acquire isn't going to help us in any way. It's just going to be the environment around us which is going to help us, and they're destroying it in the very first hand for that luxury and profit. So I feel like it is really important for all of us to start taking action right now, because our lives depend on that. And it's just that we have to respect the fact that we are alive on this planet because of the biodiversity itself. So I mean, respecting that fact and just conserving the biodiversity is something we should do, like from today, I guess.
Radhima, where and when did your interest towards climate change spark? Why do you feel that you are so passionate about this issue?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I can say I became passionate like after a long time, after I discovered about climate change. It was just that in 2013, a flash flood occurred in my home state, Uttarakhand. So I was like 5 or 6 at that point of time. So I was sitting at my house, living like a normal, happy life, and then the floods happened. My mom was watching the television like pretty much 24/7, like taking all the updates of what's happening and how's the place, how's the people. And my dad went there to rescue the animals because he worked for wildlife conservation. So when he came back, he brought up pictures of how the place was destroyed, how the people were affected and everything. And at the same time, I mean, we only had one TV. Like it is usual, that you have one TV at your house, and if your mom is watching that specifically when it's news channel, you can't change that. So I was really frustrated in terms of that I can't watch like my cartoons and everything, and I was pretty bored. So then that was the point of time when my mom was like, you should know what's happening around you. It's not always just about fun. So I was kind of frustrated and angry on her, but then I saw the visuals. I still don't remember what the people were saying, like the news anchors were saying at that point of time, but the only thing that I remember is that I saw like pretty much everything was destroyed at that place. And I mean, everything was pretty much, I mean, I couldn't see houses. The only thing that I saw was just like broken material everywhere, and then people were hurt, and kids were crying that they've lost their family members. And I kind of like felt really bad. Mm-hmm. So after my mom told me about that, I should know, what's happening around me, and rather than just being concerned about my cartoons all the time. That sort of is when I sat next to her and I saw, the visuals, and the only thing that I could see was destruction everywhere. I mean, I couldn't see houses or anything. It was just everything was broken. And then there was broken houses, like material of broken houses, and trees in the Ganges as well. And then I saw kids crying that they can't find their houses. It's all destroyed. They don't know where their houses are. They don't know, for most of them, they didn't know where their parents were, or they were, very badly injured or hurt, or some parents couldn't, they couldn't find their kids. So I mean, after seeing all those visuals, I can say I felt pretty bad for those people, and specifically for those kids as they lost their parents. And I mean, I didn't know what flash floods were at that point of time, so I was like, what in the world did cause this big destruction? And that sort of is when I asked my mom what had happened, and she told me about flash floods. And once I came to know what flash floods were, and how that particular flash flood occurred, I just started having nightmares. And that was this point of time I had those nightmares like continuously for months, that I died because of the flash flood, or I lost my like parents, my house, or everything was, underwater. Or I mean, I can't swim. So I was like, I'm underwater, I can't swim, I'm dying, or I lost my parents. So I mean, it was pretty difficult to, cope up with all those things. Specifically, it was something, I was going through mentally, so I couldn't really do much about that. So, I mean, after struggling for, I can say, pretty much a few months, I just asked my mom, what can I do to stop floods? Or, do something to stop the floods. I mean, I don't want to die someday. I don't want to lose my house. I mean, I didn't want to lose you guys. So that sort of is when my mom introduced me to climate change. She was like, the floods happened because of the climate change. And I mean, it's not something that, floods happened because, I mean, specifically, because I mean, it's a natural phenomena. But I mean, she explained me about what climate change was, what global warming was at that point of time. And yeah, I mean, so I was kind of like scared with the fact that I might die someday because of flash floods. And also, I mean, when my mom told me that our human emissions were increasing, the global temperature, the global warming, I just found it really interesting. I don't know why, because I mean, for me, only cars used to emit at that point of time. So I was like, how can us driving car change the temperature of such a big earth? And, even if the temperature is increasing, how can it be bad? We're going to have more summers and more fun. So I was kind of really interested after knowing that. And yeah, that gradually made me learn more and more, and, dive into the like real world. I mean, I was living in my imaginary world where everything was pretty much perfect. But then I saw the floods, and then I came to know the reality, which was far more better than, what I imagined.
Of course. I mean, at such a young age, that's a lot to take in. And the thing is, a lot of us, when we hear about natural disasters, we see the devastation. We don't understand how much of it is also because of climate change. Climate change is a contributory factor to these natural disasters. And actually, I'm actually going to share a couple of facts. That fact that more than 1 million species on Earth right now are endangered due to climate change. The last 7 years on Earth have been recorded to be the warmest. And within the next 2 decades, they're anticipating that the overall temperature on Earth is going to increase by 1.5 degrees Celsius. Ridhima, why should we be concerned about this? What are the impacts of this going to mean for us as humans?
I mean, I guess after listening to these facts, I don't know why people still need explanation on, it needs to be stopped. And specifically, the last point, like the last fact that you told about, it's just been, that the temperature might go on beyond 1.5 degrees Celsius. It could be 2 even, with, how much we are emitting, and with, how much we're contributing towards, climate change. And it's just that, no one seems to be bothered about the problem. It just seems like, the facts are there, the science is there, everything is there, but people seems to be ignoring that because they feel like, I mean, how is it going to affect me? If, someone who has resources, they just feel like, how is it going to impact me? But some way or the other, it is going to impact you, because if the temperature is going to rise, I mean, till how long would you stay inside your houses in the air conditioners? Some or the other time, you have to come out. So how things are going to be then, right? I mean, our human body can, survive in a temperature at, like, it has, its capability till a certain point, and once we'll cross that limit, no one knows how bad of a destruction it's gonna be. And at the same time, when it comes to air pollution as well, people seems to be thinking that, okay, I can buy air purifiers, or I can wear masks, or all those things, but for how long? There would be a point of time when we would have to buy like oxygen cylinders to survive on this planet. It could be a daily need. And, but people seems to be not bothered because they feel like it's not gonna impact them now. And one of the most frustrating thing is that the older generation, it might not impact them that bad because they might die in a few years, like within some decades or something. I'm not like kind of saying that they will die or something like that, but I mean they wouldn't be there, to face the consequences, the worst part with us. But they are making the things worse. I mean, how us kids, how we as kids are contributing to this, a problem. It's just that, we are contributing like the tiniest bit, but what we are going to be, going through is going to be more than 95% of, what we contributed. So it's just that, it isn't just fair. And, people, I mean, science is there. So, I mean, seeing the science and seeing how much it has impacted us right now, just people can imagine themselves how bad things are going to be in the future if nothing would be done.
Definitely, because there's also the responsibility we have for the generations to come. What are we leaving behind? Are we leaving a better environment for them? So these are all very important things. One of the biggest lessons I learned about climate change was from the indigenous community, actually. I was speaking to a member, and what they had said to me, because we were talking about climate change, was that they are told, and through their ancestors, they've been told to think about the next 7 generations to come. What is our responsibility, not for us on Earth, not our kids, not our grandchildren, but the 7 generations ahead of them? What are we leaving behind for them? And I thought that was beautiful. The fact that you're thinking so far ahead, and it's so hard to not change your actions when you look at life from that perspective. I thought that was a very beautiful lesson, which I thought I would share with everyone because it really changed my perspective on climate change as well. Ridhima, COP26, that took place last year. You're also on the advisory board that was in Glasgow. The main point of discussion at this conference was climate change, global warming, Paris Agreement, how are countries aligning, how are they going to achieve net zero? So what is your view on the pledges, I'm going to call them pledges, that the government's made that they're going to make net zero? Do you think this is enough action towards climate change, or do you think countries and governments have a larger responsibility than this?
I mean, they do have a very larger responsibility than this. I can say that for sure. And to be honest, I mean, even being in the advisory council, the only kind of satisfaction it gave me was that I presented my perspective. I put up the perspective of what, us Kenyan youths could have had, when it comes to the advisory council. But us at advisory council it didn't really made a difference, right? Because at the very end, what happened was that, I mean, when it comes to, listening to the pledges, as you said, they were pretty ambitious or not. I mean, I don't know. I mean, some countries, specifically like India, promised a lot. I don't know how they're going to achieve it. And, at that particular time frame that they've given. But I mean, it's just that all these, I just feel that, whether it's COP26 or whether it has been, other COPs, like, COP before that, I just feel like, the governments come there and, they make so many promises and they get praised about that. But it's just that, no one really seems to be caring of whether they're going to pull it off or, what have they done about, the earlier pledges that they made. And, when it comes to, saying that they have achieved some of the, promises that they've made. Is it even true? Because I mean, living in India, it just feels like, the promises that they've made and, the data that have been showed that, we have done this much. It just feels like, on the ground, reality is totally different. And at the same time, COP26 itself, when it comes to, going to the COP and everything, it's a lot of emissions, to be honest. So many countries, like so many representatives going there, so many activists and people, those who care, going there. And then, when I saw the venue, I didn't went there. But, when I checked the Instagram and I was like, this is huge. And I was like, I just imagine, how much light was there and, how much emissions and everything. But, I mean, we contributed so much, so much emissions were put in because of that specific conference. But how big of a difference did it made? For me, it was not enough. So I just feel like, I mean, I just don't know about these conferences. I just don't feel really great about these conferences. It's just that, they're including the youths just for the sake of, showing that, yes, we've included them, but our perspective being respected there? No, it's not. Our voices getting the respect that they should? No, it's not. And are people or are the governments really considering, talking to the youth, bringing up solutions with them? I don't think so. So it's just that. I mean, I'm not satisfied with what had happened and, how COP26 overall, the overall outcome of COP26. It's very disappointing, I guess. Me.
That's good to know, because obviously COP26 was getting a lot of media attention, and I've heard a lot of different perspectives, some similar to you as well, that is just not enough. Because the other thing is the targets made by the countries. Most of the world has pledged 2050 net zero. India's pledged 2070, right?
Yep.
But even in there's a huge question mark of, is that achievable? What actions are being taken right now? And with the population India has, are they going to be able to make it to net zero? And what are your thoughts on this? Do you think India is going to achieve this by 2070?
I mean, first of all, making goals for 2070 is a long period of time. No one knows what things would be, how, what situation we would be living at that point of time. So, I mean, it's quite, they're thinking, or they're going too long right now. What we all are emphasizing on is that we want actions to be done right now. But, having in our mind that, okay, I'll do it in 2070. How does this make sense, right? And at the same time, talking about net zero, I mean, we can't even, switch. I mean, it's just that, most of our electricity comes from like thermal power plants and all these things. So, I mean, we haven't even been able to, switch towards renewable properly. And we are talking about net zero. And I mean, we're destroying our forest lands on the first hand for making bigger highways and stuff like that. And then we're talking about net zero. Then we're talking about creating additional forest lands when we don't even have land, and we are just, destroying what's left with us. What's, the forest that's left with us, just destroying that and saying we'll create additional forest land doesn't make sense for me. And at the same time, talking about net zeros and all these things, I mean, not being able to just do the basic things and then talking so big and just making big promises bluntly, I guess we don't need those big promises, because I mean, at the very end, we all know that it's not gonna come true, or even if it's gonna be, it's not, I mean, that achievable. And the time frame that they have taken is pretty long. I mean, I don't consider that long of a time frame. I mean, for me, action needs to be done until like 2030 or 40. That's sort of is, the farthest that I can go. And farther than that, I just feel like things are just going to be more and more worse, because it's just going to be, they have till 2070. So they'll be like, we'll do it. We have time till 2070. But when are you going to do it? I mean, you haven't been able to achieve, the earlier targets that you guys set. And even if you've said you've achieved that, it's just on the paper. So I just feel like, it's just that, I don't know, it's just that all these conferences have been like this for so long that the governments are not even scared now of, just bluntly putting up anything, and, without even considering the fact that they won't be able to do that, or without even considering the fact that, how can it be impacted, how could it impact the, people of the country, those who are living in the country. So it's just that, everyone is so selfish. I don't know why things have been like that. But yeah, everyone these days are just concerned about themselves.
I understand what you mean. I mean, pledging something or promising something 49 years ahead of when they promised it, it depletes the urgency. As you said, like, why would they do something today when they feel, oh, we have 49 years to accomplish this? So that's a very good point you made there, Ridhima. And that's actually going to bring me to my next question. The reason I'm bringing this up is I've talked about it on the radio, but I thought we'd listen to it from you, because you're definitely more educated in this realm than I am. There's a lot of misconceptions about what net zero is. Some people think that net zero means that we just stop driving, we stop putting emissions into the world. Could you explain what net zero actually is and what it means to achieve net zero?
I mean, for me, I mean, we all know that we can't just stop. I mean, net zero is something which itself isn't really achievable because of, how dependent we are on fossil fuels these days. But still, I mean, net zero means, I mean, for me specifically, I mean, there are so many definitions for net zero, and people are like, how could it be achievable? But I guess for me, net zero means like, reducing just switching from coals to like more renewable resources. And then, just thinking of how can, when it comes to the electricity that we're getting, or anything, how can it be like less harmful to the environment? And I guess for me, it is that, just cutting off like fossil fuels from, yeah, I mean, when it comes to, even if it's just our city, or even if it's, when it comes to the country, or when it comes to vehicles and all these things as well. But yeah, I guess, I mean, I myself am in a dilemma. I don't know why, when it comes to net zero, because it's just that, I feel personally that it's not something that is, I mean, really, really achievable when it comes to like real net zero. So yeah, but I mean, at the very end, I mean, what can we think of net zero is for like seeing the phase of how like the countries work these days, and how industrialization and everything works these days. I just feel like net zero means something where you just reduce amount of fossil fuels, or uh, like things that emit, or the things that create pollution and all those stuff from our sector, and just investing more on towards renewable, and investing on something which would be beneficial for all of us in the longer term, rather than thinking of something that's beneficial for us in the short term but will impact us in the longer term.
Yeah, renewables, that's so important to think and consider renewables, how we can switch the energy we're using into something that's not harming, whether that's solar energy or wind energy. There's a lot of options out there. But at the same time, I think it's important to look at how you can balance it out. Deforestation is such a big issue. Plant trees, look after your environment. That balances it out. So net zero is sort of also balancing the emissions you're putting in, but also is there enough in the environment to naturally clean out these emissions? Trees are one of the biggest things that clears our air. It cleans our oxygen. And when we look at how many trees were on this earth 10, 20, 50, 100 years ago compared to now, that raises a huge question of, what are we doing? Like, do we not understand the fact that the carbon emissions are going to be so much higher if we don't have the natural element we need to rid that from our environment? Right? So I think those are all interesting things to think about. And I'm inviting everyone who's listening to think about it. How are you contributing? Are you planting trees? Are you alongside taking the important, obvious actions of preserving energy, making wiser decisions, maybe getting an electric car, right? Like those kind of things, but also at the same time, the natural element. The world is nature. We need to take care of nature. We need to preserve it. We need to add to it. And we can't just go around, keep cutting trees to put up concrete blocks of buildings. That's going to raise such a big issue one day.
Yeah.
And now, Ridhima, I know you have gotten a lot of attention from, I'm going to say Western media, because I've seen your name a lot in Vogue. I think 5 or 6 articles in Vogue, I've seen your name. Also BBC. But then within India, how do you feel? Do you feel like you're supported within India, like the government supporting your cause, they're giving you enough attention? Or is it more that you find the Western media is more concerned with your actions?
I mean, specifically when it comes to the government, I just feel like they're not really interested in what I do or anything. It's just that they don't really care. And when it comes to the Indian media, I feel like Indian media is really influenced by the government. And I mean, it's just that, anything that's against the government or something like that, the media doesn't really want to show that, or all those stuff. It's just that, it's just that right now in our country, it's just people are so concerned about other matters like religious disputes that we are having lately, and all these things that no one really cares about, the most urgent problems like climate change, or, all the other things like, not only just climate change, but, poverty as well. And, how, even about COVID as well. I mean, COVID is not gone even till now, but, it seems like it was never even here. So yeah, I mean, it's just that people are so concerned about, all the other things that they've just forgotten the main talking points, and they've forgotten the most important issues that they should be talking about. And at the same time, I mean, there's so many people, like the supporters, I could say, as of for the of the government, that they doesn't really want to listen to any of the anything you say against the government. It's not like, we were having any vengeance or something against that particular government. It's just that, we don't, for us and as activists, we just feel that, the policies or, the actions that the government is doing, or the way they're, implementing the policies is not right, or the way they are, destroying the environment is not right. But people doesn't really seems to be caring about our, anything. I mean, when it comes to our campaigns or actions or anything, I mean, and yeah, at the same time, I mean, what I can say is that I would say I've got, I mean, when it comes to the people, people have supported me a lot. There have been many people, those who have supported me, and, those who have helped me a lot throughout my journey in India. But when it comes to media in specific, yeah, I guess, I mean, the Western media kinds of has a bigger thing for me. I don't know. I mean, they've supported me. I guess I've worked a lot with, people outside of India, and I just feel like, I don't know. I mean, I just think that people, like in the Western countries in specific, are kind of more concerned about the problem than, people are in India. And yeah, that brings us to the another different aspect that, the awareness is very less in India. So yeah, I guess as there are more people those who are aware about climate change in the Western countries, I feel like I've been working more with the Western media or with other organizations in the West where it comes to as compared to like India or Indian media.
Yeah, and I think one of your major sources of spreading your message is actually social media. I do follow you on Instagram. You do post very, very useful and resourceful content there. So, Ridhima, could you also share your Instagram handles with everyone who's listening?
Yeah, sure. So my Instagram handle is Ridhima Pandey Y. And yeah, I mean, I post really rarely, and specifically as I am like preparing for my board exams. I don't know if you're familiar with board exams, you must be. So yeah, I mean, I am currently preparing for my board exams. They're starting in like 2 days.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so it's just that, I mean, I've been on a break for like, not on a break, but I've been taking things very like lightly on Instagram because I just feel like, I needed some more concentration with my studies because I mean they were not really going on that well. So yeah, I've been posting very like rarely these days, but yeah, I mean I feel like I just post about anything I mean anything that I'm doing or anything that I feel like could be useful for my followers or for the people those who follow me, or any perspectives that I have or any information that I have that could have been important or informative to anyone. I just share that on my Instagram. And yeah, I mean, yeah, that's it. I don't know why I said that.
No, of course. And board exams, good luck. I'm sure you can do amazing.
Oh,
Do you
thank
know
you.
what you want to do after your board exams?
I don't know. I mean, I'm still confused. I don't know why I am so confused with when it comes to, choosing a specific sector or, what I want to be or what I want to choose. I mean, even till now, I'm deliberating on, in the science stream, what should I opt for, whether I should be like fully science or whether I should be, maths and science. And yeah, I mean, few days back, I was thinking of taking something like humanities or something like that. But then I switched to that. I want to pursue environmental science, like in the future. So I should opt for like science. But then I like maths. But then I think like I should study biology. But yeah, it's just that I'm a really confused person. I mean, I can't really come up to one specific decision easily. But yeah, for now, it's just that I guess I'll take science as my upcoming subjects, and then environmental science is something that I would study. But yeah, no one knows. Maybe I'll change it.
I'm sure whichever path you take, you are going to succeed and do so well. You're such an
Oh,
ambitious
thank you
girl.
so
You're going to do so
much.
well. Well, that being said, I didn't know you had exams to study with, so I'm not going to keep you longer. What I was hoping is you could just share a few words of wisdom with everyone listening on how we can start working towards protecting our earth on a day-to-day basis. The easiest tasks we can do, modify in our lives every day that can help combat the issue of climate change.
hmm I feel like, I mean, these days, as climate change has been something that most of the people talk about, I guess most of the people would be aware of, actions like reducing our carbon footprints and, working on things like using more of our bicycles and reducing, the way we use our vehicles, and at the same time, kind of like educating our communities as well, rather than just taking action, because we need a larger group of people to be working and acting in order to see changes when it comes to like when we are working on things like bringing small changes in our lifestyle. And yeah, at the same time, I mean, I guess what I have been following for so long is the quote by Gandhi ji that be the change you want to see in the world. And I feel like it's something, that resonates to all of us. We want things to change, and we've been so frustrated, but we never really seem to be, I don't know whether it's, that we don't feel confident, or that we don't feel like, we have enough courage to take action. But I just feel like, it's really important for us to be the change that we want to see in the world, rather than waiting for someone else to change, or rather than waiting for specifically for the governments to, change the way they've been working. Because I guess today everyone is just so concerned about themselves that no one thinks of how their actions are impacting the other people. So I guess it's really important to change that narrative that, where we only think about ourselves. It's just that, we should be wise, and we should think wisely on, if I'm emitting, how is it going to impact the poorer communities of my country, or, how is it going to impact the other countries, because me emitting here is of course going to impact, some kids in the Bangladesh, or some kids in the Africa, or some kids those who don't have resources in my country itself. So, I mean, thinking of how my emissions are going to impact like people within my country, and how is it going to impact me myself as well, and at the same time think of how is it going to impact kids out there in those countries, those who doesn't even have proper things to even live like a nicer, decent life. And yeah, at the same time, I guess just bringing changes like, reducing your carbon footprints, and then saving water, electricity, and at the same time taking parts in climate strikes, and, educating yourself through, different webinars and stuff that happen all, like, these days there are so many webinars, or, there are so many sessions that are happening about climate change that give you a bunch of knowledge. For me itself, I attend a lot of sessions, and it gives me a lot of knowledge. So I guess like attending those sessions, and at the same time, I mean, yeah, just do those things that you feel like, is kind of like not that tough for you to start, like, do in the beginning. And then at the same time, once it's really important for us to step out of our comfort zone, and then, do something that would be helpful for everyone out there. And yeah, at the same time, at the very end, it would be just that, respecting the fact that we all, have Earth as a common home, and at the same time, it's just the biodiversity which makes us survive. So, it is important it is, at the very end, we are not saving the earth, or we're not saving or protecting the trees or anything. It's just that, everything that we are doing is to protect ourselves.
Absolutely. We don't own this planet. We're just basically tenants who are here temporarily. We have a responsibility to maintain it, leave it in a better position than we found it, right? It's a shared space. The planet is shared. And I think this is a message we need to carry with ourselves on a daily basis. Yeah. And Ridhima, thank you. Honestly, thank you so much, especially because I know you have so much going on, but I think it was very important to have this message. And who else could deliver this message better than yourself? You are doing so much for the world, for everyone. You're creating so much awareness. And I would like to thank you for your endless efforts towards climate change, towards educating us, and for being able to share this message across the world.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, it was a pleasure talking to you specifically.
Likewise. Good luck on your exams.